Okay, good evening everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:02. If you mind, please rise for pledge to allegiance, and it will be followed by a moment of silence remembering victims of 9/11. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as we take a moment of silence to honor those who have gone before us and, of course, victims of September 11th. Thank you. I also want to ahead of time thank Denise for stepping in. Our village clerk, Ann, is out on vacation. And Judy, our deputy clerk, is out doing the polls tonight. So roll call, please.
Okay. Trustee Downing?
Here.
Trustee Sprague? Here. Trustee Kushner?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Ryan?
Here.
Trustee Patton?
Here.
We have Trustee O'Malley, who's absent.
Tonight. Okay, I want to start off with a few announcements and correspondences first. I want to talk just very briefly about storm cleanup update and where we are with FEMA. Not all that much has changed, and the majority of it has been reported in the news, but I know Neil and his crew, as well as a lot of other employees in the village, have been working their tails off, doing a lot of amazing work with the cleanup. I figure that Neil will give more of an update in his reports. But at this point, we are well on our way, and we're in the process of actually scheduling doing the work at the sinkhole on Main Street. In terms of FEMA, if you haven't heard already, I think this was announced either a week or two ago, the governor did officially ask for the FEMA declaration to send that request off to the president. What they ended up having to do is with the FEMA region, they tied in a whole series of storms that took off about, I think, 3 weeks. I forget the exact dates. That allowed them to treat not just our one event, but a bunch of events, and it ended up including, I think, 15 or 16 total counties across the state. There's a damage threshold to get FEMA assistance, and that was a 28.2 or 28.4 million. And when they added up all the counties, it definitely exceeded that, and that was what allowed the governor to ask that request. Now, unfortunately, we are waiting on FEMA, and the unfortunate part is, of course, with all the devastation that's happened from the two storms, they are very busy, and I even know some agencies in New York and a lot of other states have been actually down in Florida and Georgia and South Carolina doing a lot of work down there. A lot of ditches employees from New York are down there right now. So that's really all I have in terms of that update, but I did want to make sure that information was out and on the record. A few announcements that I want to pass on to you. The Town of Hoosick Rescue Squad is celebrating 60 years on September 16th, 2017. At first, they'll be at the Squad House from 1 to 3 doing a health and wellness fair, and 3 to 3:30 for a reception. And then at the town skating rink from 4:30 to 6:30, there'll be a chicken barbecue for $10 featuring Bud's Barbecue. 5 to 6:45, the four of us. 7 to 9 Whiskey Highway, and 9 to 9:20 fireworks by Young Explosives, which actually is just the sort of the official approval is on the meeting later on that. And I will leave this out here. Should anyone, do you guys want to see this? I'll pass it around here and we'll just leave it out on the table if anyone wants to see that. Hey C3, I wanted to officially thank the Hey C3 kids for coming by. They did a little community service project where they came in and did dusting, vacuum work, polishing, and some air freshener stuff. They came back in August. Really nice. We got a signature of Aiden Fleming here representing the kids. So I just want to officially thank them and English for the work coming over there and the way they always support the community. So you guys can pass that around as well. Pass it down. Bells Across America is a program. It's Constitution Day, September 17th, the day on which the Constitution of the United States of America was signed in 1787. Marks the beginning of Constitution Week, observed annually from September 17th to September 23rd. Many thanks to the groups and individuals who joined the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, the local Van Rensselaer chapter, in commemorating the anniversary of the signing of the U.S. Constitution on Constitution Day in the past. To commemorate the 230th anniversary of the signing of the U.S. Constitution, the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, the Van Rensselaer chapter in Troy, New York, encourages and invites individuals, churches, schools, courthouses, firehouses, veterans homes, county, city, town, and village governments, as well as any other institutions or place that has a bell, to join in ringing bells across America on Sunday, September 17th, 2017 at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. There's a lot more information here on it, but it's a really neat program. I'm under the impression that we've done this in the past before, so I'd like to continue doing that, but I just want to make sure that everyone's aware of that program. Pass it down that way. There was a report that we received from our insurance folks, New York Municipal Insurance Reciprocal, or NYMER, and it had to do, they checked over all of the grounds that we have and all the things that we own. One of the things that came back, though, was some very specific and serious concerns about the Jackson Street Park. The Jackson Street Park is one of those things that has been, the land is technically owned by the village. It's been operated by wonderful people who volunteered their time and services, collected money, and put a ton of work into maintaining that. And I know it's been checked in the past, but there are some things that will need to be addressed. There's a couple things that aren't up to code, a couple things that will need some repairs, and some specific changes, and I wanted to pass this around and make everyone aware of that. But I think that's going to be something that we need to do. I think they gave us, I want to say 60 days from the date of the reports. Yes, a response within 60 days. So we're going to have to make this sort of a priority, because even though it's, it's one of those things where other people have been doing the work, but it's still the village's property. So I want to pass this around. They have a lot of pictures, and they specify what we can do. And I want to meet with Neil and Jerry with community service people to see what things we can do pretty much as soon as we can. But if you guys want to talk more about this after you look at it, we can certainly bring it up later. If you have any questions on that, certainly feel free.
Ron, you also mentioned that they brought up when we met with them that we're covered during this period anyhow. If there is an issue with any of the things that need to be fixed, that we're all right.
All right, thank you. And I did want to mention, I know that this has already sort of been out there, but the PFOA Community Health Questionnaire is something that we as a village have talked about, and we are behind it. We're encouraging residents to do the questionnaire. It's a simple questionnaire. It only takes a few minutes, but I think it's going to be important information, and I think that our end goal is a really, really large, I think, formal health study, not just of this area but of other areas. And I know that I'm particularly even put out a video on YouTube saying you guys should look into this. In particular, find people who may not be in the community anymore, because that was one of the big concerns that came out of the review of the New York State cancer report, was it did include people who moved away and were diagnosed later. Hopefully it's a first step of many as we sort of look to see and get as much data and information as we can. Do you guys want to add anything to that? Okay, great. All right, we have a few people to be heard, and I'm going to start with two folks and then open it up. Hoosick Falls Central School is here. Superintendent Facine, and I'll say a couple board members back there. I want to turn this over to you guys.
Okay, thank you. My name is Greg Lauren. I am the board president. I'll try to make this painless for you. We're starting the campaign due to a building project that is going to have a vote on October 17th. I know some of you were at the town meeting last night. We're going to do as many meetings as we can between now and then. And my role is to tell you what we're going to do. The John will talk about the money, and then Ken will correct everything we've done wrong, which is what he usually does. I will also say, having sat in the judge's chair, I didn't see anything that I'm going to be arraigned, so I'm starting off all right tonight, and it's good. It's a big number. We're talking about $18 million, $19 million project. We're getting $1 million from the state to take care of technology, which is in here. And this pretty much lays out what we're doing. And it's not the best place to see it, but basically everything in here is stuff that's wrong in the building because the building was built in 1961. One question I've already gotten is that, okay, well, maybe you didn't maintain it. Well, the fact is it's a 1961 building, and we're open and operating safely because we've maintained it. But we're now at the point where everything's 50, 60 years old. And it's great to have kids in the school here because they can critique what I did last night, because someone listened to me last night. And then they can verify things like lighting in a hallway. We have hallways that are like caves. The lights have not been changed since we opened the school. There is asbestos in, I've got these in different order last night, there's asbestos in the 4th grade hallway, which has to come down. We need to do technology, which means we have to go in the ceiling. If you're going to go in the ceiling, you have to do this because you're going to disturb it, all right? And a lot of this is the fact that we're doing stuff throughout the building that's old stuff. And it's cheaper to do the whole thing if you're gonna do it than do it in pieces. That's part of it. I don't wanna get into John's part, but also you talk about state aid. We're currently at an 80% state aid thing. Nobody ever knows what the governor's gonna do as far as changing that. God knows it'll never be raised, but it could come down, so the timing is right. Bathrooms, they're here someplace, over here on the bottom, bathrooms and shower, 1961. We need to get them up to code. They're up to, I mean, we're not gonna get closed down, but we need to modernize them, make them someplace somebody wants to go. We're also, as part of this project, there's some places a generator. We wanna upgrade generators so that we can be an emergency shelter. If we're gonna be an emergency shelter, we have to have bathrooms that are usable, showers that are usable, all right? And they have to be up to where they need to be for that level. So it's multifaceted. There's light poles out in the parking lot. And frankly, if you go out there at night, it's pretty dark. It is not a secure environment. All of this is about interior safety, quality of environment for the students. We can't be operating 1961. It's just time to do it. Bathrooms, I don't know what I've left out here. Here's the technology room, all right? We had, at the point we put it in, state of the art. Now we're years behind. And there will come a day in the school when the books they now use will be tablets. This has to be up to date to do tablets every place. And I know you guys talked about broadband and everything else. So pretty much it's boilers. There's gonna be an energy savings, about $30,000 a year, okay? And we have a financial plan that I assure you, may seem complicated, but it's not gonna take anybody over the coals. With that, I'm gonna turn it over to John. It's crowded in here, we're gonna talk. I'm gonna let them go home, I'll stay, because I'll take this down at the end, but if you have questions, I'll be here afterwards, okay? With that,
I'll just add a few things. We have antiquated science rooms. This renovates and puts all new science classrooms and labs in, including a new chemistry room. It gives us control. We have 20% control of the heating and system in the school. It's not computerized, so we have a lot of imbalance, different R factors in rooms. So we have to do a setback for all rooms at the same temperature, which creates different climates in all the classrooms. And stabilizing the lighting is huge because we have so many different ballasts that the lights tend to create a really unequal luminosity in classrooms, which is an issue. And look, this community has invested in its schools, and the school is structurally sound and wonderful, but it needs some updates. And those updates will be an investment in the community as well as the school and the children, because we do maintain it to the best that we can. I think when you drive by it, it looks wonderful, but when you look at the plumbing and the bathrooms from 1961 and so on, it's $1 million to replace bathrooms in that school, because it was the original tiles from 1961, and very few of those bathrooms are handicap accessible. So those are the types of infrastructure needs that we have, and now we'll let John speak about how that's going to be paid for.
Okay, thank you. So this project started over 5 years ago when the school realized that at some point we're going to have to do some major renovations to the building. And so this has been a very long process. First thing that happens is at least once every 5 years, the state mandates that we do what's called a building condition survey, which is a very thorough survey of the entire school from a physical standpoint and also from a safety and student standpoint. So with that, everything that you see here is part of what that study says we need to do. In addition to that, we also started a financial plan to actually start putting money away for a project. So currently, we have between $3 and $4 million that are in a reserve fund for a capital project like this. So that's the first part. Greg mentioned we also have a $1 million grant that we have received from New York State for technology. In addition to that, currently state aid for a project like this is just over 80% for our district. And what's important with that is not everything that a school might want to do in a project would be covered by that. However, everything that we have in this project is covered. Okay, that's very important. Someone had brought up something last night that I think there was something on the website. No artificial turf. That's not happening. In addition to that, the gym floor has been resurfaced and rejuvenated, so that's taken care of. So those are not part of this project. All right. So if you look at the finances, currently between $3 and $4 million that we have set aside for the project, $1 million grant, 80% aid from the state. The amount of impact to the taxpayer is very, very small. I think you had asked last night, what is the actual increase in the tax rate per thousand?
I asked you what the unencumbered fund balance was.
918,000 or 3.92%, which we're allowed at 4%. That's our unreserved.
Okay. But someone had asked, what the rate is per thousand. So currently it's about $70 per thousand. That will go up 0.2% per year, each year for the next 15 years. Okay.
Could you explain the $450 each year that you had on the paper?
Okay. If you had I was looking at my tax bill.
A market value house of
Right,
$100,000.
a market value house of $100,000. You can look at your tax bill, it's really complex. A market value house of $100,000 has an assessed value of $27,500. Okay, so a $100,000 house is the market value, assessed value is $27,500. Right now you're paying just over $70 per thousand. That comes out to $1,950 per year of school taxes. $1,950. If you accept this project, go for it, that will go from $1,950 to $1,954.50 approximately the first year. The second year would go to $1,959, etc., through the 15 years. So over the life of the project, it's going to go up by the 0.2%.
So it's going to go up 450 and then
450,
So
cumulative.
times 50.
So at the end of 15 years, you'll be another 6750 that would be higher, which would be 15 times 450.
Right.
So over the lifetime of that $100,000 home, it'll cost them about $540 for the
Right,
project.
but in the meantime, they will have paid $30,000 in taxes, in school taxes.
That sounds good to you.
Let me put it this way. I think Kevin's point, John, is that the project itself, Kevin, is gonna cost us $450 and $9 and $13.50 and on up. That, the project itself will cost that $500 you're talking about over
Right.
the life of the thing.
Right.
Right,
The
that's
school
what I said.
taxes are another issue.
It's in
But
addition
this
to-
project.
Right, this
project will cost that $500-some, okay?
Right.
That's the key.
Right.
Thank you for bringing it up.
But I think what's much more important is many of the items that are addressed in here, if we don't do them, for instance, the boiler system, the boilers are antiquated. Number one, they're very inefficient. Number two, they require a tremendous amount of maintenance. And number three, at some point, they're not going to be fixable anymore. So they never break down in the middle of July when you have a lot of time to go out and find contractors and get bids. They always break down in the middle of winter, which means it's an emergency repair. It's going to be very expensive. And at that point, might be $100,000. We, the taxpayers, are going to have to pay $100,000 for that system. If we put it in the project, the state will pick up $80,000 of that $100,000. To me, that's a great deal. So if you look at the entirety of the project, it's a great deal. We've already put aside between $3 and $4 million for a project. State is picking up 80% of it. The rest of it is pennies on the dollar. And if you look at the quality of the school, it's been well maintained, it looks great. If you want to continue like that, we're going to need your support. This is important for our kids. So, are there any other specific questions?
Thanks, John. Just to add just a few things. It's an investment. Any tax that you pay to a school district is an investment in the community. And we've tried to live within our means. We've tried to keep tax rates at palatable numbers, given what we offer the students and so on. And, you know, we come to the life expectancy of a lot of these things in the school district, and we are struggling. You know, we tried to go with a pellet boiler. We tried to go the NYSERDA route. We tried that grant. It didn't work. You know, we tried creative solutions. But we're spending $20,000 to $30,000 a year with Troy Boiler Works on our boilers. I'm just welding the rods in them now. They're 1987, and it's tough because we're getting to that point where what's going to go next, and what do we need to do? You know, we have to shut bathrooms down because of the odor, because the pipes have eroded and everything's in the concrete. So, you know, we do have issues, and we need to address them. You know, we try to keep every extravagant thing that every other school district has done out of this project. There is no turf. We don't want turf. We went on grass. We're good with that. We like grass stains. We don't need it. That's a lot of money. That's $3 million that people throw around. We don't think that's necessary. Everything in here, and we listed on our website, is practical and pragmatic, as if you owned a home, you know. And this is just an investment in what has been a shining light in this community, and that's the school district. So it's up to each taxpayer to go and vote and decide when they go in. And we just want to be very transparent, and that's why I'll be at various places and venues throughout the community. We did a mailing, and we can get much more specific. This is not a meeting to get specific. This is a meeting to get out. I'm looking at faces that want me to stop talking and so on. But I'll avail myself to anybody who wants to meet about it and go over in hyper-specific terms. We'd love to sit down with anybody and cover it. So we have a lot more meetings. I want to thank the mayor and the council for letting us speak tonight. So you want to follow up with us? Thanks.
John,
Do you guys have any questions?
you got to understand, this is a great project, but you got to remember, this is a community of elderly people. And you can't keep, I understand it's got to be, and we can't keep doing it, raising taxes, because nobody's going to feed it.
Right.
And I'm one of them. I'm about ready to, gotta go, because I can't afford to live here anymore.
Right. And I
I'm
understand.
sorry to say that.
Right. But the bottom line is, if
I
we
lived here all
don't,
my life.
and I have too. And so the bottom line is, if we don't do this, for instance, the $30,000 we'll spend on rehabbing these boilers every other year. Okay.
That's great. I'm all for it.
That-
like I say,
but
how much more can you get out of us?
Right. Anybody that has a home knows that, you know, like, for instance, your roof. At the end of whether you want to put a new roof on or not, that's a decision. You can put it off and put it off and put it off, and then all of a sudden, you know, you get a windstorm. Next thing you know, you got rain coming down through, you got water damage. It'll be much more expensive for this community if we don't do this project in the long
I
run.
agree with you there, but like I said.
So I don't, you know, I appreciate it.
You said 80% is funded by the state?
Yes.
Yeah. My son works for North County School District. They brought theirs up at first, and I forget the percentage, and it wasn't that high compared, you know, it wasn't 80,000. They voted it down. So then they had to go back and look at it again, and by that time, they lost the state funding of, say, 65%. So now they're down at 55%. So he says technically it was costing people more money.
Right.
Not to realize, take advantage of that 80% from the state.
Oh, is that 8% guaranteed for the entire life of the loan in the project, or is that something the state 5 years down the road could
Nothing in
pull?
New York is
Right.
guaranteed.
So that's
The only thing that's guaranteed is we'll still be in New
well,
York
I guess
State.
I think that's Bob's
Right.
conveying is if that 5 years down the road is pulled, all of a sudden the full amount is
No.
due, or 60%.
That's
No.
that's not true. It won't be full. And I can tell you, back in 1996, when I first went on the school board, the state aid was 80% then. And it's been 80% for 20-plus years.
Can I ask a question? Are you talking just about the state aid that the school receives every year, or are you
No,
actually?
No,
This is for building capital
this is
projects.
just for capital
Okay,
projects.
so you had said it was between 18 and 19 million. You have 3 to 4 million set aside. You have $1 million grant. So 80% of what is what? What amount are they? What's your top line that they're paying the 80%?
18.7 after we apply the $1 million technology aid grant.
Right.
So,
Did everybody
but the
get these in the mail?
so 18.7.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
all that
Paying 80%
information
of
is
Yeah.
contained
Okay.
in here, so. Yeah. And if for whatever reason you need more, we're available, you know, but I don't want to take up the whole meeting. But I really appreciate everybody coming here. We're, hoping for your support. The proposition is going to be voted on October 17th, so there'll be more publicity in the paper. Please come and support us. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you,
Thank
John.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, trustees, for your comments and questions. And before I go on to the next individual, I did want to mention 2 things. I forgot to welcome the students. Glad to see you all here.
It's nice to see you here in September and not in June.
Yeah, not in June when
it's
we have to
1,000
stack the
degrees and we're trying
kids
to do
vertically
this.
on. Yeah. So I know that you're very excited to be here. So I hope you enjoy your time here.
You're so funny.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, when I was talking about the PFOA health questionnaire, it's also here. We have a copy of it right here. So you just want to take a look at that. All right. The next person I want to present was Marilyn Douglas.
I'll come up here, so you...
Wherever.
I'm speaking here tonight on behalf of TJK Enterprises. It's a local LLC in Hoosick Falls, New York. And there's a letter that I can be the proxy to speak. And I'm speaking on the old business that you have on the agenda today for 62 Mechanic Street, the
Bottom of page
demolition.
1. Bottom of page 1, yep.
And I have spoken with your building inspector and so forth. I support tabling the demolition, and I would support putting the property out for public bid. When I looked back on the taxes, this is a property that was on the tax roll for $101,818. And I don't think this is the time that the Village of Hoosick Falls wants to lose money off their tax rolls. And as you look at this piece of property, I would suggest that it is village-owned now. It is coming off the tax rolls, but you want to make sure your money stays on the tax rolls. We're talking about that imaginary $100,000 house that Mr. Facine was just talking about. So this house is over on Clay Hill. I have looked at it. There are people, besides the person that I'm representing tonight, that would put in a bid to redo the property. I'm suggesting that the village owns it, that you do not demolish it, and that you could place it back into the public by bidding like the HUD process. So you would do a legal notice through the paper, open up the bids at a public hearing, you would demand $1,000 down as an earnest money check, and you also could demand proof of funds at that time so that you know that you're dealing with a real person that has money to do this. And then you could also put stipulations in there, like I would suggest it has to be closed within 45 days, and upkeep rehab has to begin within 90 days, so that you do not want this building sitting for another year. If it goes through, and that's what's happening to a lot of the zombie houses in the village, as well as all over New York State and the nation, is in the Northeast you cannot have a building that is just sitting there year after year without any heat in the wintertime, because they deteriorate beyond the point. This building has not. All right. It is a 2-family unit. I spoke to the village clerk. Even though my client would like to see an extra apartment in there, he will abide by the village rules. But it is, when you think about it, you do not want to demolish a building that is on the tax rolls for $101,000. That can be rehabbed. I have had the opportunity to look at the building, and definitely compared to some of the buildings that I've seen, it should not be demolished, and you want it on your tax rolls. So I don't know if I can answer anybody's questions on it.
Do you guys want
What
to?
was the basement like on that?
Do you want to jump to this portion, and then we'll come back in a minute, because this is actually listed later in the meeting. Are you guys comfortable doing that?
The basement is, there is a foundation that is cracking in the basement, but you would also advertise that that you're selling this as is, and that it's up to the person that's bidding on it realizes that. So.
Mark can also answer questions on this. Hi, Mark.
Mike, my one question is, you say 101,000, Marilyn. When was that last taxes were paid on that 101,000?
The bank was paying the taxes on it, but this is the unpaid school tax from 2017. So that was the town had it assessed.
And what's the what are the taxes? Never mind what the 101,000. What is the bottom line? What is,
yeah, I'm not sure about it.
isn't it on there? Or
On there.
Should be on there. What the taxes are. What the
taxes are for the entire
Well, I think
village,
they
town.
forgave the taxes because it's owned by
No,
the
I understand
villages.
that, but what's the tax rate that what taxes do we receive in revenue from that parcel of land?
The village?
Yes.
Oh, I'd have to get the,
That's not
you're,
assessed.
when I pulled up the records, the village had taken it over, so it shows a 0 because you're off the tax roll. And I couldn't figure it out.
I think that's fair market value though,
Yeah.
101.
And so then it's at, like they were talking, it's
Right.
equalized by 27.5%.
Right.
Okay.
So, but I did, you know, now I believe, Mark, you have other people that are interested also that you, it's not me, by the way, I'm not calling it this one.
There was at least one other person.
There's.
Say that again, Mark?
There was at least one other person
Interested in
who would, would.
purchasing with the intent to rehab it? Okay. I know,
Do they have history of rehabbing, or
do they know the extent
in a
of?
positive way?
Yeah.
Yes. And Bob, speaking to your point, I think that you as a village board could ask that you'd like to see their track history about rehabbing you know, the person that I'm representing has rehabbed 4 houses within the village, has done a great job, they're all back on property tax rolls. And when HUD had them out for sale, one was like bought for $13,000.
Okay.
So, I mean, you've got people in this village that have done the right thing with taking property and properly putting it back on the tax rolls and rehabbing. And they're not absentee landlords, they're people that live here and pay taxes here.
Do you guys want to come back to this as we get through the reports? Or you want to hit the issue right now? What do you guys want to? How do you guys want to approach it? I'm fine either way.
We're already there, so.
We're already there.
I mean, I'm not, when you said he wanted a third apartment, I'd rather.
Dead set against that.
Yeah,
No.
the only way I would be convinced that this is any sort of good idea is if it's gonna be an owner occupied single family. That's it, because we have a supply and demand problem here. When the Walter Wood Company was a thing, which was a very long time ago, we had a population 9,000 plus.
Right.
We had housing for that. We still have more housing than we have jobs and places to work and businesses to open. So, you know, you look at Detroit, and part of the reason they're in such bad shape is they have more housing than they do opportunity. It's like a store. You need to get rid of some of your inventory before you can grow again. So I think no matter how much somebody wants to rehab it or not, it can be on the tax rolls if a neighbor buys the property, it can be land banked. We need to start looking at more realistic options for the big picture of our village, not the right now gratification of having it go back on or not. So I'm pretty set on the more properties like this we can demolish right now, the better we can set a stage for our future, so maybe we can improve things and people will buy and build new houses there.
It is classified as a 2-family unit, and it would be cost prohibitive to bring it back to 1 family. I think there's like 1,637 square feet on each floor.
The problem I had with the last person who bought that house was just what you're talking, a person who was gonna come in and save all these buildings. He walked away from the third base, he walked away from this building, he walked away from his house up in Albany Street, he walked away from several buildings and left us holding the bag on all of them. And in the process, they've been sold in tax sales and everything else. And we're dealing with the same problem with more and more rental properties. I agree with Brian. I mean, we're giving Mark the power and trying to get the power to get rid of these, you know, vacant houses and slumlords. And we're going, if we do this, I think it's a step in the wrong direction. I mean, the other problem I had was, why did they wait to have you come forward now, Marilyn, when we're ready to vote on it tonight, and this has been on the agenda for like the last 3 or 4 months?
Well, didn't you just get the bid opened up?
Well, we put out the proposal, the bid, like back in June,
We have
wasn't it, Mark?
we have the actual. We got one response, and the combined asbestos abatement and demolition was $74,900.
So that you're willing
So about
to have the
$75,000.
village pay for $74,900 to demolish a building that somebody is interested in rehabbing and putting back on the tax
Well,
rolls?
the village we already got paid, what, $39,000, something like that, from the bank for this property.
Just over 30.
Yeah.
Or 30, it was 35, something like that, right?
Closer
Yeah.
to 37.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'd expect the numbers to be lower than 75, and that was the only bid we got back. Is that correct?
I was shocked.
That seems very high to me.
It does seem high.
Well, I can't speak to the other person that has been talking to Mark, and I can't speak to the other landlords and what they've done in the village, but I know the person that I'm representing.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's
has
just-
taken care of it, and he's willing to do that again under a sealed bid.
They also, responsible owner doesn't always own it forever either. You are in business sometimes to make money,
Yeah.
it gets sold down the road,
That's
and we're
my
right back
concern.
where we started. We really need to, I'm sorry, we really need to look at big picture instead of right now. I mean, there are 30 other properties our building inspector could give a list of right now that aren't as bad, that probably could use a little love. There's houses for sale, we have buildings downtown that could use some rehabbing. I'd rather see us do something that's gonna be beneficial to the whole, not the few.
Well, you know, I'm not here to argue with you,
No, no,
but when I take
no,
the,
it's-
the building across from the armory, that was once a barber shop, then a dog pet, that building has been stabilized and put back on the tax roll by who I'm representing. There's another apartment building on Clay Hill that was totally left, it was $13,000, it's been rehabbed, put back on the tax roll. He lives in the community, he lives in the village, he works with Mark, works with Anne Marie, you know, so I think that, you know, you can't second guess everyone, but you have a person that's put in a lot of money, a local person that went to Hoosick Falls Central School, you know, is willing to put his own money and work into things. And I talked to him today, and I think that he's had, out of the 3 buildings that have been rehabbed, maybe there's 4, I said, how many times have you had a police officer at one of these? Out of all of them, only 1 call, and he took care of that the next day. So it's not a person that's, I think, taxing anyway the community or some of the buildings that you do have to have the police checking out every other night.
Another consideration with all of this is that, and maybe this is something we can look at, is we know there are other properties that are gonna need to come down.
Yeah.
We know that right now. And maybe prioritize, because the first 2 that come to my mind, I wouldn't put this one on that list. So we have other properties that are gonna be coming up that we are going to need to deal with. And, you know.
So are you, from your perspective then, would you think it would be wise to simply wait and get an idea of the other buildings? And is there a way where we could actually, if we put those buildings out for bid to go down, we could include this and see if the price comes down? If that was something the board wanted to do? Or are you just saying like that from your perspective, the priority should be on other buildings first?
Well, I mean, one of the buildings in particular, maybe 2, the 2 that come to mind, we're not gonna have any choice. I think they're gonna have to come down.
Okay.
One of them definitely has to come down. And with these kind of prices, I mean, hopefully they're not all gonna be priced like this, as far as demos go. But it's something that we have to consider, I think, and maybe prioritize or get ready for a much larger number. Maybe not, don't calculate it at the 74 estimate, but at 50, just figure $50,000 a pop. And I know there's 3 right off the top. You know, there's 150,000. You know, but one of these properties is on for the Runster County auction. You know, that's what happened to it the last time.
Right.
It's sat ever since.
Right.
You know, and it's a dilapidated property. The other one is just a property that's just been an unfortunate circumstance and it's ready to fall down.
All right.
So what we're gonna end up with.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Okay, you're welcome.
Actually, can I say something?
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm representing.
Is it okay?
Yeah, yeah.
He mentioned that there was more housing than people and jobs in the area. I have several housing and apartments in Hoosick Falls. They're all full and I got people
I'm sorry,
living
for the
in them.
record, name and address if fire
Bob
department.
Coronas.
Thank you.
I've got people waiting in line to move into apartments and they can't find anything and they're calling me every other day for apartments. So he mentioned there was too many apartments in Hoosick Falls. I'm not sure where you got your information from, but that's not true at all.
Okay. Board, thoughts? Where are you on this? I tell you, I'm not comfortable with the $74,900 cost to do that. That's like, to me, there's just no way. I mean,
There's no way we're gonna put $35,000 more into it.
No.
If it was even,
No.
we could think about it,
Well,
but
I think I'd
not
like
to pay $1 more to take it down
Yeah.
and do it, so. I mean, that bid would be rejected, so.
Maybe I'd like to look
If we
for
vote
bids
on it, when we
again,
vote on it.
just that.
Say that again?
Can we look for bids again and table it? Solicit bids?
Table it? Do you want to put a motion out to table it then? Table the,
Yeah, well, I was wondering, like Brian said,
Yeah,
can we
motion.
put it out for bid again? Do we think and Mark, where did we put it out for bid? down in the Albany area as well, or is it just, where did it go out?
All the
in
normal papers, right?
All the papers?
It went into most papers, I don't know where exactly
Okay.
where.
It may be something where if we put it out for bid again, we may need to actually call some people directly and say this is out for bid.
Okay.
Just want to make you aware
I
of
was
this.
sending the information to 4 different companies.
So you sent it to 4 different companies around here, and only one responded. Okay.
Because of the asbestos?
You know, I really have not reached out to the companies to find out why they did not bid and what made that so expensive, but I guess I did early on get an email, because Albany landfill is no longer accepting
Yes.
some of the things like the asbestos siding, that has people scrambling and it has people a little bit scared of the trucking costs and where they're gonna end up having to send these things. And that whole home underneath the vinyl siding has that cement board that has the asbestos.
Yeah.
Is it possible that when we asked for the combined bid, that actually closed some people out who could have bid? Because we asked for both the asbestos remediation and the demolition. Would there be wisdom in offering them both out there separately and seeing how that works? I don't know if that would work better or worse, and then
So as far as the demolition and then the
doing the abatement
of it?
Yeah.
I do know that one of the companies that was trying to bid that did not end up bidding was trying to sub out the abatement part of it and was not able to really get anybody who wanted to do it. So that may be part of the equation.
All right. I mean that.
But I mean, early on, it became apparent that some of them wanted to do it together. At least that was what I thought. That didn't end up happening.
Okay. I mean, it's obvious we can't make a decision now because we only have one bid. So, Bob, did you want to make a motion?
Kevin.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin.
Kevin Eller, 5421 State Route 7. Mr. Mayor, what do you have for a budget for handling these homes like this?
We have
Not as much as we'd like.
Well, clearly, you never do, but if
Yeah.
you have a number of zombie homes like that have to come down, you're gonna have to start with the very worst down here because you don't have an endless budget for that.
No, we don't. And I think you speaking the fact that there's others, maybe we need to step back and get a whole picture idea and make a priority list, and this is something we look forward to budgeting in the next fiscal year.
So
And
It'd
then,
probably be a good idea just to make the list anyway of what we know.
Oh, yeah.
What we know is happening right now and maybe forecasting what we might.
The problem is though, if we continue to, I'm not saying we should, I think we should table the issue, and I'd like to I'll make a motion that we table it when or Bob can, whatever, but if you wait another year, like as Marilyn stated, and another year, another winter, and it's only gonna get worse. The property's not gonna get any better.
Foundation issues, and so it really shouldn't go any longer.
Say that again, Mark, I'm sorry.
That's foundation issues.
I know it does.
I'd hate to see it go any farther, any longer. Just
so it sounds like
not gonna help it.
if we end up making the decision to actually put it out for sale, as Marilyn suggested, we would probably need to do that by next meeting.
Right, and some other considerations along the lines is that for many years we weren't as active from the code enforcement aspect as we are right now.
Yeah.
So anyone who does come in to fix things up, it's going to be held to a little higher standards because you're not going to just move somebody in there without fixing that foundation,
Right.
without doing the things that need to be done.
All right.
I don't think they're, Mark, I don't think they're gonna be held to a higher standard. I think they're just gonna be held to the standard that they always should have been.
Well, right,
yeah,
that's right.
There is that.
That is, that's my point.
Right.
That they never worked
Yeah.
before. But if you've got that many homes, you're gonna have to take some of these borderline homes, and the board is gonna have to come up with some kind of a standard, some kind of a procedure like what Marilyn was suggesting as to what you will accept, what the person needs to do. But I don't think you can second guess somebody's business end of it. Maybe they have the funds to come in, fix the foundation up, fix the upstairs up, put new plumbing, new wiring in, everything else like that, and then rent it. I don't really think you could second guess that.
No, but we have the final say in whether it's an owner occupied building or not.
And it sounds like you guys.
And that's what, I mean, I can't see it being anything other than that. in my eyes.
When you say owner occupied, you mean just single family?
No, the owner can, if it's someone's gonna renovate it, they should reside in it as well if they're gonna be a landlord. Because we have way too many, and I'm not talking about Mr. Coronas, I'm talking about we have way too many landlords who sit back and wait for the check to come in from Section 8 housing, and we're dealt with the problems.
I absolutely agree with you.
So,
Sounds
we've
like,
been,
it sounds like you've been
absolutely
burned
agree
in the
with
past on this a lot.
we've been doing this, I mean, that's why we're in the situation we're in now. I mean,
Absentee landlords have gotten away with murder for years.
Right.
And I will 100% agree
Yeah.
with that, but
And that-
you can turn that over.
oh,
Okay,
absolutely.
Thank you.
I agree.
You wanna make the motion?
Sure, yeah, I mean, you know what, to be honest with you, Bob, go ahead and make it, because I'm gonna abstain anyway.
I think we ought to
Marilyn
table it
has something
until
more to
we
say.
get, you wanna get more bids on demolition, or how?
I mean, the other thing is, I think I need to have I think we should have a follow-up conversation with Mark. And if Mark says that there are other priorities to demolition, maybe even though we ideally we would rather take this down but don't have the funds for it, maybe we have to think about this is, going back out. But I don't know if that's the
Yep.
right answer, and that's why I want to have a follow-up with you on that.
Right,
So,
yeah.
but I understand your concerns on that.
Well, I mean, the two that come to mind is the one on corner of Terry Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, everybody's familiar with that, and then we have the Springfield house.
I'm sorry, the Spring Street, yep.
Yeah.
That experienced more damage during the storm, but already.
Which is on the list, yeah.
There is
Marilyn,
one other
real
way
fast,
you can
please.
do it. We've done it in the, Mark remembers, and Bobby, we should remember, with the town. All right, you condemn the building. So once the building is condemned, and you have to go right by the I's and T's of the law and make sure there's no mistakes. And then you tear it down, and then it goes back onto the county tax rolls, and the county will pay for it. So the key is to look at what buildings can be condemned, and then you go through that whole process. We had our town attorney, we had the town engineer, we had everyone involved in it, documented all the time. Tom Kenny, everyone's time was put back into it, and we always got the money back from the county.
We did
Because
that with the American House.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
right.
mean, that
Long
is
process,
another way to
but
go.
it
It's
did
a slow
get there.
process, but it doesn't, it relieves you of paying for it as a village.
Right. All
And
right.
there's another program that's coming out with the state too.
Right.
I got a letter today from LaBerge advertising. Just another program that may help us. I haven't had
Okay.
time to really look over the
All right.
letter. I just looked over quick.
So, okay, so it sounds like we were interested in tabling this, but making this a big priority for the next meeting, so we get a
Yep.
final decision on that. Okay. Do you want to make the motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion, we table it.
Need a second?
Second.
All right, second. Sorry, Downing beat you.
All right.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Should I
Okay,
say that we
motion
table
is
it
tabled.
until, for discussion for next month's meeting? Could we give us?
We'll know. We'll
Okay.
make sure it's on the agenda.
All right.
All right. Before we go into reports, I just want to get an idea. If there are any other people who wanted to be heard on anything, so I want to get an idea of how many people want to share. One. Okay, go for it. Oh, two. Okay.
Christina, formerly of 5 Hall Street. I live in Bennington now. Nothing's been done. I don't hear nothing. I don't hear nothing from FEMA. My house needs the whole floors on the first floor to be removed. I don't have that kind of money until I get some money from FEMA from the board. So, winter's coming. I don't have electricity in there because during the flood they tore the brand new thing that I had gone. That's gone. I don't know about my heater, which is only 3 years old. You look in the backyard, you think you're in, I don't know, it's a mess. So I don't know what to do. I'm 92 years old and I have to put up with this. It's disgusting. This has been, you've been warned and told about what was going to happen, and it happened. But nobody seems to want to do anything. It's a disgrace. I love Hoosick Falls. But the way we're being treated on Hall Street, there's nothing being done. Nothing. I go in my home and it makes me sick to go into my home because I have to take furniture out to go into the apartment. So I'm paying rent for the apartment. I'm going to be paying taxes. I'm still paying for lights, which I have none.
canceled the water and sewer, right?
Cancel the
Yeah,
water
we
and sewer.
canceled water and sewer and garbage. The
I
lights
canceled
we
taxes. I
Tax.
canceled that.
We can't help with lights, but
The bonds aren't,
Windy Village
the
tax.
bonds aren't canceled.
I thought we did that, voted to do that.
No.
It was prorated for the last billing because of the timing.
Okay.
That's
So,
gonna be a.
the way things are going, maybe you'll have another house that'll come down.
Do you have someone coming in to fix your electrical or no?
Why should I pay for it? I
Yeah.
don't know
That's the problem.
what's gonna happen with the property.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be taken? Why should I spend thousands?
No, I understand.
No.
It just, and we don't know, unfortunately. We're waiting just like you. I mean, unfortunately,
But I'm the one that's losing the money.
no, I
I
understand.
don't have a home.
I
Yeah.
understand that.
I was ripped away from my home in 5 minutes, it was gone.
No, I understand.
The house itself is okay, it's just that the mold got into those floors on the first floor, and
Mhm.
everything's gotta be removed.
Yep.
The kitchen, all's gotta be taken out, everything. The subflooring, there's 3 subfloorings in there, and all those have gotta come out.
Mhm.
And it's gonna cost a pretty penny, a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I can't pay rent where I am, and pay taxes, and do that. It's a shame. In fact, it's disgusting. And I'm really, really angry. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to me.
Anyone else? Did you wanna share?
I'm under new business here.
Oh. Where is that? Gonna wait until we get there then? Okay, thank you. All right. Let's move into the treasurer's report. Or we don't have a treasurer's report. She's been busy doing crazy other things. Police reports.
I will just comment on the fact that last month we were about $89,000 in expenses for the flood. As of the bills we have received to date, right now, we're a couple dollars under $150,000. And that's not village force, village equipment, any of it. And I do know that Neil knows that there's quite a few other contractor bills out there that haven't come in, so.
You said, I'm sorry, you said 89 for last month and 150 for this month, or is it accumulative?
Accumulative,
Okay.
All right. All right, thank you, Denise. Bob, please report.
Hey, this month, we had 156 calls. Last year, for the month, was 128 calls for our call. Total arrest for this month.
Bob's report, here you go.
They involved aggravated unlicensed operation, 1 forgery, 5 unlawful possession of marijuanas, an aggravated harassment, there's 2 of them, an assault, plus report and incident, 2 grand larcenies, obstruction of governmental administration, and 1 arrest involving a domestic. We talk about money issues here, now I gotta talk about money issues. But it's on the positive end. The new door system, the security system that's put in, we should be, I'm hoping by Friday of next week, the latest, the system will be up and running. The doors have been all done. We were waiting for some IT work to be done. It's just about complete, so that will put the system up and running. The cost of that system we've discussed, but we know that it's come out of a special fund of drug money that we've obtained, so it's not gonna cost us anything, which is a real positive thing, especially now. The new car has come in. It's over being upgraded now, where the wiring for the lights, et cetera, that should be hopefully by next week as well. Again, that's no cost to the village, that's money that has come out of our special fund, so on a positive note, there's some costs that they're gonna affect us, but not in a negative way, it's just being paid out. Right now, other than that, that's pretty much where we stand.
All right, thank you. Any questions? No. Motion to approve the police report?
Motion?
Ben, second. Brian got that one.
The only thing I'm asking, if we could jump quick, there was discussion that we had.
About adding on an additional officer.
Let's finish the report and then we'll jump right to that, if that's all right. Or finish approving it. So the motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Carries with permission of the board. Like to jump ahead to page 2, about the
Under new
fifth thing
business.
down. Discussion regarding Chief Staff's request to hire a part-time officer.
Where we are right now is that we have 2 resignations that will be coming in at the end of the year, at the end of the month, for officers that are, their employment that are gonna be leaving us on a part-time basis. And I know of possibly 2 more that'll be leaving at the end of the year. So I really think we need to sit down and start planning. I would like to reach out, encourage anyone from the village or from the town that would like to at least sit down and talk to us. The biggest problem we have is basic school, and that's a big cost to the village. There is a basic school that's gonna be coming up in January that we could look at if there's people within the village or the town first before we have to go outside. So if we could kind of get the word out to individuals that may want to sit down and talk to us, there's obviously criteria that they have to meet, but it's something that we look at. Before that happens, that maybe we might have to be forced to go out and hire some more part-timers, because we're down to a skeleton crew right now, which is fine. We're handling everything that we need to handle, and we're going forward. But I'd like the whole board to start taking a hard look at that and maybe thinking about possibly someone you may know as well. Or,
I want to look at that for the next fiscal year.
budget,
Okay.
All right.
So
any-
we're not gonna do anything with this then for right now, Bob, and
Not
wait
right
until
now.
we sit down and talk.
I'm hoping within next week you and I can talk.
Okay.
And we can
All
look
right.
All right.
Any other questions, comments, Bob? All right. Great, thank you, Bob. We'll hop back in. Code enforcement reports.
Thanks.
Mark.
Do you want to start collecting student sign-up sheets?
Give him a few more minutes.
Everybody should have a
Okay.
copy of my report.
I'll do it after Mark's report. I have one of these somewhere here.
Probably when all the numbers are down.
You guys have these, right?
The day-to-day stuff, just trying to keep up on some of the, work on some of the older things. I have updated the properties that are red tagged. These are properties that, for the most part, I have been in and we have some issues, so.
You can have this.
Some of the ones that we talked about tonight are not on here, but will be. We did hire an assistant. Maria Neal started on the 28th. We had a couple things that were waiting in the wings, were some FOIL requests that involved digging back into the archives, so that was pretty time-consuming stuff. And we decided that while we were doing that, we would purge some of the old files that are no longer needed. So we did that at the same time. So we were able to dig out the information that we needed for the FOIL request, at the same time get rid of it, clean up some of the old boxes that were down there. So they're labeled, it's all reorganized, and so that part of it's been good. And Marie was the key to that. It was just stuff that I couldn't get to. So.
That's great.
Besides that, I have a
Perfect.
class
Exactly what we
coming
got
up
it for.
in October for 3 days. And I guess point of interest is just that I did issue last week, or 2 weeks ago now, the demo permit for the old house.
Okay.
Most people can see it, right? That's been started. I thought they were gonna bring in the equipment this week. You'll be seeing that in the very soon.
Okay.
So Mark, these 15 on this list are active court cases as of right now, as of today?
As of today, yes.
Okay.
All right. Great. Before we leave that report, if it's okay with the board, I want to jump to the page 2, third from up from the bottom. One of the things we want to do for Marie is the assistant there is to get her a simple computer. I didn't want to go crazy. One of the quotes I got from someone was like something ended up was like $600, $700, and I was like, no. It's a computer that's going to be used only at this point a few months a year, but obviously can be a backup if in case any of the office computers go down or that we need an extra workstation. Strangely, one of my hobbies is finding good computer prices. I don't know, it just is, sorry. But Dell Refurbished has a computer's an i5 processor for $279. It'll also be shipping, which we didn't include in the motion, but I figured that would be a good price for a computer, and I'll probably just find a simple LCD screen. I don't even have an extra one at my home. It's a small desk there. We actually got that desk donated by the school. It's one of their excess desks that they were going to fit, that literally just barely fit in that spot, but that's exactly what we needed. So,
I don't think you can go any smaller.
no, you couldn't call it a desk. No. So that's why that's there, and I just want to put that out there. And that money would come from the code enforcement budget. Is that correct? Okay.
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so the motion from Brian, second by Karen, to purchase a computer for the code enforcement secretary in the amount of $279 plus shipping. Check. Didn't put it in there. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And I will also entertain a motion to accept the code enforcement reports.
Motion?
Ben?
Second.
Second. Bobby, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mark. Do we have a clerk's report? No clerk's report. And I do want to mention, because Bob brought this up earlier, I've been through the minutes just to make sure they were good, but I don't think you guys got a copy of them. So we will postpone approving those minutes until the next meeting. Our bad on that one. I don't think Jerry is here for the community development report. Is that correct? No, Jerry.
Jerry McCall?
Yes.
No,
The community service
he's
report.
over in front of the armory with doing community service.
Service
Right
report.
now.
Okay. Community development reports. Is that Briggs?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be
Briggs,
economic development report.
Yeah.
I feel like was there anything in the is she okay.
We haven't,
It's public knowledge.
yeah, but we haven't officially at the board mentioned it.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
We haven't accepted her resignation, have we?
No, we should probably.
Probably should do that,
We should
huh?
probably do that. Briggs submitted her, as per her contract, her 30 days notice to resign from the position. We talked a bit, and I also spoke with Brian quite a bit. I think that time frame is the 15th of September.
Should
It's
we
the
do
day after.
The day after the expo.
Yeah, because the big event coming up is the 14th. It's obviously, from my point of view, tough to see her go because she's done a lot of stuff. But that being said, her and Brian and obviously Kevin work together, and we feel pretty comfortable in the direction we're going. And we are going to be getting a binder of information about what we've started to put in place, and basically the goal, I think, for this remaining fiscal year is to continue down that path, talking about the rebranding the website, new letterhead, and just keep working on that direction. Obviously, with Brian and Kevin involved in their roles, and obviously, tough to see her go because she was doing some really great stuff. But so we should officially take a motion to accept her resignation effective September 15th, I think it was.
A motion.
Karen? Second,
With
Brian?
regrets.
With regrets. Any further discussion?
No, just
Okay.
with regrets like everybody else.
Regrets.
And the only question, are we going to advertise to possibly replace her?
I mean, that's a discussion we have to have.
I think when we had briefly talked about it was with the shell of the plan now, where we're at, between Kevin and I, we can get through the rest of the fiscal year. We should probably get through a new lawyer and a couple of things that are another priority.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then put it out, if the board would be comfortable with that.
Yep.
So we can focus
Yeah.
on getting a few things off.
And that would also, it would be a different situation, whereas Briggs walked into almost like a brand new position. We
Yeah.
actually have some foundation built and going in direction, so.
Plus, I'm free and Kevin's free.
No.
Good.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. All right. Committee reports.
I have communication.
All right. Let's go. Bob, Karen. Okay. Brian.
For communication, last meeting, we actually, I think Mary brought up reverse 911. Started looking into that, so there's a couple of options we can do for that. There are some private companies that offer it, and the pricing is ridiculous, so I don't think that would be a good option. There's free services. Unfortunately, they sell your data, so we don't want people to opt in and have their data sold and be getting robocalls because you're opting out of the do not call list by those. There's NY Alert, that's through New York State, that's free. I'm trying to work through with them because the caveat to that is Rensselaer County, I believe, according to them, has the capability for reverse 911. It only goes to landlines at this time. But I need to find out from them if they can do it to cell phones, and to also see is there an option, because there's an option to sign up for text messages, and it's also free. It would give us the authority, so when the flooding occurred, for example, that we would actually have the authority to send out an EAS alert locally to a geo area. So having that capability as an official civil organization, a civil authority rather, that would probably be the best one. So I'm going to work through more details on that. So we are making some progress there.
All right, thank you. Bobby?
Yeah, well, I was going to talk about Bobby with the police, and then
Right.
the other thing was with is under new business with the plow for Neil's the new plow. So other than the highway, there's business as usual, trying to recover from the storm. That's all Neil's really been doing. So,
All right,
so we can wait to the new business for the plow if you
we
want.
can certainly do that.
I have the bid here.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all.
All right, Ben? No. Okay. I did have here 2 updates from Kenny. Just some updates that he had done on the sewer line side of things. Just wanted to tell the board real fast on that.
And upon excavating I guess you'd call it a tunnel, in St. Mary's Park, we decided to dye test these sewer lines on everyone's house on Classic Street. Lo and behold, I think it's 82 Classic. Was it Denise? Is that his address? I think so. Anyway, his sewer line was broken.
Okay.
Since been repaired. It was broken right outside the house. They just dug it, replaced it. And then up on 100 Classic Street, during the storm, the woman had a problem. Her sewer backed up in her house. And it was because of the just mass amount of water that was coming down the hill from the storm and stuff. Immediately following the storm, we had a company come in and we cameraed and cleaned and televised those lines. There was no blockage to cause it, so we determined that we're going to move her line from Abbott Street to John Street, and that will just solve, Abbott Street to Classic Street, and that will solve the entire problem. Her line comes out the back of her house onto Abbott, and it's kind of like in a dip, and everything kind of converges there when we get heavy rain and heavy flow. So if we just move her line out to Classic Street, it'll just fix the problem completely.
All right. Thank you. And one of the things I've noticed, especially with all the things that have been going on the sewer, water, flood side of things, is that everyone who brings a concern to the village, it doesn't always get resolved, but they always speak highly of the people who take on those situations. It's been your case, it's been in Neil's crew, it's been in Jim and Josh's crew. So thank you guys for handling all of your business so well with all the things that come up. Great. Let's move on to old business. What's that? Oh, students, I would like to have 2 volunteers to collect the papers on this side of the room and this side of the room, and we will gradually start signing those so that there's a little bit of organization to this. And just we'll sign it and gradually get them back to you as the meeting progresses. But if you could do it a little on the quiet side, that'd be awesome. All right. Old business, smart watt proposal.
Okay.
Bobby, you want to give us something on that?
Sure. Okay, well, we have the proposal from SmartWatt, and I think we definitely should move forward with it. That's the next step in the process is for us to approve if we accept it, and then they would come in, SmartWatt would come in and they'll put it out for bid and contract, and there is actually no upfront cost to the village at all. It ends up being coming off of our current electrical CERP bills that we're paying now. It'll end up being reduced, but over the 10-year plan, it'll end up saving us in a little over $1 million in the long run over the life of the plan.
Okay.
So I think we should, based on everything we have here, they were the only group that submitted a proposal. And I think if we have nothing up front to invest, I think it's crazy if we don't move forward. It's going to all LED lighting, which is the thing of the future. So
Yeah.
I think we should go ahead and move forward.
I know at NICOM today training, which I couldn't go to, one of the sessions was literally on LED lighting. So the next So basically, all we have to do is accept this proposal,
And then contact them,
Okay.
and then, yep.
and then they'll do an assessment and
They come
eventually
and
get
do an
back to
assessment.
us.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess we're looking for a motion. Do you have any questions for Bobby?
And everything's right here if anybody wants to review this.
And he gave when he came to present
Yes.
this, it was
Right.
excellent.
Yeah.
And as
Right.
I drive by the streetlights, been out for 3 years at the end of my
Yeah.
street. You know Sean, right? Yeah.
Do you have the pile there? Just give it
So it'd
to
be nice to actually have
Mr.
somebody-
Bushner. He's looking forward to
There
that.
you go.
Thank you, Mr. Bushner.
Can I send them out for scene?
He may have a problem with that. All right, in that case, I'm looking for a motion to accept their proposal.
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you, Bobby and Bob. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
John, my only
Carries.
question for you is the next step, so, do we have to, generate a contract for us to sign, I assume?
Yeah, we would need a contract for them. I have called them a couple of times.
Okay.
Called Greg. I haven't got an answer back, but maybe what they're doing is waiting to see whether we,
All right.
decided to accept the proposal.
Okay,
Now the appropriate thing to do would be for you to reach out to them, say they're ready to go, and if they have a contract that they want us to take a look, if they can send it to me, they can send it to you, whatever you want to do.
okay. I mean, I can contact Greg. I have all his contact information. If you'd like me to, I can contact him and tell him we've approved the proposal.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, no problem.
Great.
I'll do that tomorrow.
All right,
Okay.
great. Thank you, John.
Yep.
And the last bit of old business is actually an update that we don't have to do anything about. The situation with Gillespie Street being it's the one-way exit coming out of Twin Rivers.
Yeah.
We've had some dialogue between them, them and us, and we went back to the archives and figured out what it's supposed to be. And the basic gist of the situation, I will give you guys the letters that they sent us and that we sent back, is that the gate has been ordered. The fire department and rescue squad are all good with it. So they're going to put the gate back up and it will become what it's supposed to be, is a one-way out, except for emergency purposes.
Great.
So that's coming, and these are the letters
out
out of Twin
the
Rivers.
Twin Rivers, okay.
So, and one of the things I'm going to follow up with Neil on is putting a sign that says no through traffic or dead end or something like that. So when people turn on Gillespie, it's obvious right off the bat that they're not supposed to be cutting through, because that's not good. So, and any other questions on that? All right, great. Let's Oh, I'm sorry, one more bit. Looking for a motion to approve the permit application for the fireworks display to be held on September 16th.
Motion.
Brian, Bob,
That's
Mark
already in a half.
had already discussed this, and everything seemed to be in order with the fireworks permit. Everything's in order for that. So, sort of a clerical thing to make sure it's on the record and everything's fine. So, any other questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Pass this down this way, please. All right, new business. The Rensselaer County Shared Service Agreement discussion. Basically, I went to only one of the 3 meetings because I was a slacker, where a bunch of the county municipalities went together. I had talked to various people about what they thought would be good in terms of shared services. My understanding is that, and Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, is that these are things that we're going to look into, but we're not immediately signing up for every single one of these if we vote on the shared service agreement.
Correct.
So these are things that we're going to look into, but like by saying that we're interested in, say, animal control doesn't mean we're, by voting for it or if it gets passed, we are stuck with animal control from
That
them.
is also my understanding. Because,
Yes.
yeah, some things will make sense for us, like the purchasing power thing.
Yes.
You know, but like the dog control, I think Denise put out.
Denise comment, yeah, that was.
You know, that may not make sense for us because
Yes.
of our location out here.
Yeah.
You know, but then again, depending on if the sheriff's department were to get into a full on, and maybe,
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, we're agreeing to work with the county to try and.
Yeah, and it, I mean that the general theme was this is another thing that the governor put out that we're just kind of doing, but there's going to be some very good that comes out of it, especially with I think the bidding thing was the one thing
I was a
that
little
made the most
surprised
sense.
that, I didn't think the dollar amounts, the projected dollar amounts were pretty high.
Yeah.
I didn't think they would be that high.
Yeah.
But we'll see what the reality actually is.
The actual vote is on Thursday. Mark is going down both as the town supervisor and as the representative of the village. And I'm going to submit to you a letter tomorrow. Yell at me if I don't, which is basically they're asking for a letter of support or not support for it, but I'm planning on sending a letter of support. So if there's any other questions or any discussion or something like that.
Yeah, it's actually a vote.
It's a vote, and you're going to be voting on behalf of... of
Yeah,
May.
you have to have the letter says why you're voting.
Yes,
why you're
yes.
voting.
Yeah. I know. I just haven't done it because there's the meeting and all that stuff. All right. Any other questions, comments on that?
That clears up my worries, yeah.
Yeah.
You brought up a lot of very good points.
And then that's the thing. We
Yeah.
don't want to
We
be
don't want
locked into
duplicated
it. But
Right.
when I initially had reached out to various people and said what are the things we're interested in, so we're in the list for a bunch of things, but it doesn't mean we're gonna go after all of those. All right, great.
So do you wanna do a motion for that? If you're going to.
I mean, I don't think we need to make a motion for that because it's just mayor
Okay.
vote. But
Thank you.
okay.
Be specific pieces of it at some point, but not now.
Okay. All right, I'm looking for a motion to authorizing Mayor Allen to sign lease memorandum of lease and New York State real property tax form TP-584 to assist in completing the financing of the Village Solar Energy Project.
Motion?
Ben, second.
Second.
All right. Thank you, Bobby. This is basically it was quite a fiasco getting this to be done with Monolith Solar. It was just something where, how do I even explain this? Why do you?
The easiest way to explain it is that this is set up by, of course, when they originally did the solar farm, they added good financing through the bank. Now, in order to make sure that there are no future problems in the event that Monolith decided to default, the understanding was that the bank would then take over the operation so that the village would continue to get the savings. So this is our way of giving them permission to do that in the event of a default by Monolith. This is, when you're a banker, you like to wear a belt and suspenders.
Yes.
At the same time.
All right.
So this is what we're talking about. Easiest way to say it.
I like the imagery there. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions? All right. So I'm looking for a motion.
Motion.
Okay. Oh, did we already get a
Oh,
motion?
we already did.
Oh, we already did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ben
All right.
got it.
Great. Then
We already passed.
no further discussion.
Karen tried last time.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. We've already discussed Chief Ash's requests. Looking for a motion to purchase a new plow for a highway truck, which has already been budgeted.
Motion?
Ben?
Second.
Second, Brian. Bobby or Neil, do you guys want to talk about this?
Oh, it's just the cost is $58.90 installed with a 5-year warranty, and this is something that Neil's had success with these guys before, and so he definitely likes to use the same company. So.
And this has already been budgeted for?
Yes, it's in the budget.
And I feel like you've already said no to some other things that were budgeted because of the storm.
Yeah, due to the cost of what we spent through the storm and stuff,
Okay.
I just don't see it feasible to buy a new truck and plow.
You're right.
At least this way here, we can take this plow, put it on a new truck, hopefully next.
Okay. Okay.
We appreciate your consideration in that, Neil.
Yeah.
I just wrote the village of Black Falls.
Any other discussion?
Thank you, Bill.
Did we got the motion,
We got
right?
the
Yes.
motion, yeah.
Whew.
Yep.
Losing track here. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Carries.
Neil, do they have a copy of this? Is this the original quote, or does this need to go to Denise, or?
You can give it to.
They don't?
Okay.
There you go. Thank you. Motion. I'm looking for a motion to void the bond charges for St. Mary's Cemetery as they don't have a water line.
So moved.
So moved. Bobby?
Second?
Second, Ben. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't think they're very
Motion
thirsty, though.
carries.
They did used to have them at the water.
Yeah, well,
We didn't
Yeah.
see it, yeah, so.
No.
Disconnected?
All right. All right. I'm looking for a motion to adjust the August utility bill account number 09440. This home is being condemned. The adjustment total is negative $58.71. You can see as it's listed out there. So I'm looking for a motion.
Motion?
Ben, second Bobby. Now this is related to another house that was damaged in the flooding. We did, I think, this exact thing last time for houses on Hall Street and a couple on Main Street. So this is basically the same thing. And this house is on Spring Street and is being condemned. Any other questions or any discussion?
Yep.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Let's see here. Motion authorizing the village to purchase the real property located at 22 Lyman Street, Village of Hoosick Falls, County of Rensselaer, and State of New York from Rensselaer County, New York, as part of the sewer upgrade project in the amount of $22,000, together with any necessary expenses associated with this real property transaction, including but not limited to the recording of all documents and purchase of title insurance on the property. Looking for a motion.
Motion?
Bobby?
Second.
Second, Karen. Bobby, you're on fire. This is all related to the sewer project. This is one of the things we've been working on for quite some time with the county. And Mr. Pachenik got this figured out and finalized today. There have been some issues before. This is all straightened. Where is this money, Denise, coming from?
Sewer collection upgrade loan that we already have, but.
And if we run into problems with asbestos or anything like that, it's gonna cost us more.
Well, we have no choice. This is
But I
a
think-
state mandated sewer project,
I
right?
understand that, but I'm just looking at different costs.
Is there money set aside in the? Isn't there money with
There's
MRB
contingency.
set aside?
There's grant money to take care of that. What we have to do is buy the buildings, they need that as part of the plan.
Right.
And, yeah, it'll have to be demolished, and we'll have to have an asbestos designer. Sounds like some open medicine, but that's what we have to have to figure all that out. But this is step one. And, so by doing this, the only caveat, as I mentioned today to Denise, and I think to you, Rob, also, is we have to set the closing up before December 30th. That's the term.
Yes, and then we'll make sure that happens.
And then once I know that the financing has been arranged, so I'll go ahead and set that up.
You can go ahead. And I mean,
I'll set up for next week.
Are you talking about this specifically?
Yeah, the first time on the new business, skipped it.
Shared services agreement?
Discussion about the sewer line, John Street.
Oh, that's the old tentative agenda. We don't have that here, but when we get finished with this, I will certainly call on you for that, because I figured that's what you're there for, but I was like, it's not in here.
I was gonna
Yes.
say, not on here, I didn't see it.
Yep, certainly. Sorry, 1 second. So we're still, so we still have the motion. Any other discussion on this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let me just do one more here. Motion authorizing the mayor. I'm looking for motion authorizing the mayor to sign all necessary documents required to complete this real estate transaction.
Motion.
Ben, thank you. Second, Brian. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
My name is Herb Lortan, and I was the owner of Rhoditis Home Appliance, the Lurie Building, and it was purchased about 4 years ago by Yusel Erdogan. And he asked me to speak before the board here concerning his dilemma. And basically, we've owned that building since the early 1970. We ran it as a business. We had diverted all the water off the roof, away from the sewer line, and we never had a problem with the sewer line. Route 22 was repaired from stem to stern, water, sewer, drainage and all, and it was back in 02, I guess. And right after they finished paving the street, we had a leak in the sewer line because there was a broken pipe or something. They scoped it with the television cameras, and they had to dig up the road right after they paved it for the sewer line. So when I sold the building, everything was in order. Mr. Erdogan bought the building. He knew everything about it, and I never tried to hide anything from him. And we never had an issue with the sewer line. So when Mr. Erdogan, just recently, he had a backup in the sewer line. So he spent money getting it fixed, trying to get it fixed, and it's in the sewer line. The sewer line was not properly connected to the main sewer line, and the sewer, of course, backed up. And of course, he thought that was the municipality's issue, in that it was never fixed properly, it never hooked up properly. And so he's going through the expense of trying to get it repaired. Now, Mr. Erdogan bought the building in good faith from me. I never heard anything from him. He loves Hoosick Falls. He's looked at several communities before he bought the building. And since the sewer line is backed up, he's incurring these expenses of getting it fixed. Now, he's asked me to speak before the board because he's looking for assistance in getting it fixed. Now, he's come to the board before. He has experience in marketing, experience in New York City. He wants to be a part of Hoosick Falls. He wants to help the village, and he'd like the village to help him. So, I know there's some issues of who's responsible for what, but it was not his problem. It wasn't his responsibility to connect the sewer line to the main sewer line. That was, the state should have done it properly when they first did it. And so why should he bear the expense of something that wasn't done right by the state? So I don't know what can be done. I'm speaking on his behalf, that he'd like to get some compensation or get it fixed. When they dug it up, they saw that it was not hooked up, and they should have fixed it then, but I don't know why it wasn't fixed then. To me, that's a health issue, or, and I don't know.
You've had a conversation with him, right, Rob?
So,
Yeah,
so
yeah, I'll
he likes the building, he wants to be a part of it. He's, so he's asking the board for some relief on the expenses of hooking it up. Okay?
Yep. So to fill in some more of the story, and thank you, and feel free to chime in on anything. I know he's worked a lot with Mark, he's worked a lot with Neil, and Kenny has been there, and Keith has been there, a lot of people have been down there. In terms of this situation with the building, the sewer line goes out of the building, under the sidewalk, and it's basically the sewer line runs down, smack down the middle of the street, right under the double yellow. When they dug up the sidewalk and probably about a foot to a foot and a half past the sidewalk into the road, they discovered that the pipe just was cut.
Stop.
And that was it. So what happened was when Reifenberg, via the state contract, went through and did 22, and they did the initial pipe cut, they just, forgot to rehook it back up. Well, obviously his business is going to have a lot more usage than just a couple houses, so I don't think it was ever really noticed until he wanted to put more usage in the sewer system. So when they dug it up and realized that there's literally nothing in the actual lane of traffic, the northbound lane, that's the end of this. So I mean, it's been like, you know, they try this, they find out, it's been little pieces of trying to figure out the answer. We now know what the answer is. The answer is we have to basically close off a lane for a day or two, based on
the whole street.
the whole street. You have to do both lanes.
Yes. No. Yes.
I was hoping it was just single.
You have to put a machine in the southbound lane to dig in the northbound lane. There's no way.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, but I know that I've spoken with Neil, and they have a rerouting plan. They've spoken with DOT to get this figured out. Ugel and I have been trying all basically weekend back and forth. I've been the one who's been so crazy busy. I haven't gotten back to him. I think I had a text from him at 4, but I was busy with a few people in the room there. The sort of the offer that I put out to him, which I think he sort of agreed to in principle. We have to talk more details. Is based on the past practice of the other situation that happened that you referred to within, I think it was a year or less than a year, when they noticed it, and the village and the owner went in 50-50 and split the cost of it. So I had Neil put together an estimate, gave that to Ugel, and the solution we're trying to come up with is if we can split the cost of it and get that done. And in terms of, you know, policies of my thought was to require like 50% of his cost, which would be 25% up front, and then at the end when it's completed, we know it's working and that sort of thing. Just because that's what would just be a policy that makes sense, and that would get this solution figured out finally. And I know that it's frustrating because I remember being down the sidewalk on the day when, like, you can just see this, like, 8 more feet and it's solved. But it's not just 8 more feet. It's 2 days of rerouting traffic and signs and machines and so on. So we're basically, I have to get back in touch with Ugel.
Yeah, he spent over $300,000 fixing that building up, and he's got a big investment here. He wants to be a part of the community, and he wants what's fair. it's someone else's mistake, he shouldn't have to be paying for it. No?
Yeah, and
This estate is Reifenberg's, whoever did not hook up that
Right.
properly.
Right, and even we had support from Senator Marchion's office reaching out to DOT to try to get a straight answer and see, and it didn't pan out to anything because it's been too long and so on and so forth, and various people sign off on it. So unfortunately, the situation was neither the village nor his fault caused, but we're dealing with the brunt of it.
Yeah, another thing, he's also a marketing. He has a lot of marketing experience in his business, and he's come forward to let you guys know that he is there for you. That he can help you out. So.
All right. Thank you. And if this gets solved, this solves sort of one of two sort of situations we have with the building, the other being the
other
exhaust
one's
vents.
Yeah. Right.
And that's another conversation I have to have with him. But
I appreciate whatever you guys can do, help him out, okay?
Yep.
Okay, Herb.
Welcome to Hoosick Falls.
it's a beautiful building. I got to tour and it looks so nice in there. It looks so nice in there.
And I'd like to add just one more thing. It's good to see the young crowd here. Another little bit of trivia here. My son is married to Susan Bellamy, and Susan's Bellamy, her great-great-grandfather, wrote the Pledge of Allegiance. For your information. A little bit of trivia. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the last thing, before I look for a motion to go into executive session, and by the way, students, for those of you who haven't been here before, we're going to be going into executive session, and we've said that there'll be no business after that, but this business is important. John Patterson has been the village attorney for...
Right after the Civil War, right?
at least before the union was formed. No, in all reality, he's been the village attorney for many decades, and he has served the village over so many situations they've been through, and at a cost that has been so little compared to what's the normal is out there, and it speaks to the service that he has had to the village. With your permission, can I read the retirement letter? All right, thank you. Dear Rob, please be advised it is my intention to retire from representation of the village on Tuesday, October 10th, 2017. It has been an honor to have been of service to the village. This will allow me more flexibility to spend time with my family, especially with our son Bart and his wife and daughter, and with our daughter Ashley and her husband who are expecting their second child. That's outstanding. It's been my pleasure to assist you in your new role as mayor. Thank you. And I've enjoyed working with this board. You and the trustees are to be commended for your hard work and dedication to the citizens of Hoosick Falls. I wish to especially commend you to you, Anne Marie Bourne, Denise McMahon, and Judy Vandekar, with whom I've had the pleasure to work with so closely for all these years. They, the other department heads, our Chief of Police, Bob Ash, represent the highest standards of professionalism in their respective responsibilities. You're very lucky to have them on your staff. My best wishes to you, the board, and the village employees in the coming year. Always know that you have a friend in Washington County. Respectfully submitted, John Patterson. As we are looking ahead to the possibility of hiring a new attorney, which we'll jump into that in a minute, we had talked about when we originally signed you on of once we had a plan, sort of a 30-day overlap, so that you guys would be free to work things out, and that's what we're thinking. So I just wanted to read that out there, put it out there, and I do want to move to the possibility of hiring Andy Gilchrist as our village attorney, and then we'll come back to that, but I just want to put that out there, and thank you, John.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be of service for so long. You guys have become like family to me, you really have. And, the only thing I'm going to miss is coming down here on a Tuesday night, except maybe when it's in the...
You can still come.
It's so much fun coming in anyway.
Come for the festivities.
Like May.
You can still come back, John, don't worry.
Actually, I probably will.
All right.
We need to respond on that.
We'll do a motion to accept that, but first, all right.
Judge, in my short time working with you here, you've been just very helpful, very incredible. You've actually given me some advice. I appreciate it. I still haven't shut my yap yet, but it's all right.
It's okay.
No, but I want to say thank you too. It was great. And you made the transition very smooth for us. So thank you.
We will miss
My
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
We will definitely miss you in the clerk's office.
So a while back, we put out for a new attorney. As we were starting our search, we received exactly 0 responses. We started to reach out and talk to some people, and it turned out that both our environmental attorney David Engel and John Patterson recommended Andy Gilchrist. So I had a phone call with Andy, and we set up a meeting time where he got to sit down and talk with me for a while. He got to speak with Mark for a while, and he got to speak with Denise for a while. This is his resume, and it was really nice to hear. And do you want to come in and say a couple things about yourself and your experience, or rather just hide in there? It's either one's fine.
Not that I was hiding.
Oh, you were hiding. How you doing?
No, I wasn't hiding. I wasn't. So I will, and the reason I'm here tonight is clearly you've had a lot of good years of service from John Patterson. David Engel reached out to me, my former law partner. We practiced together for many, many years, and he's provided good environmental counsel for the village, and indicated that the village is looking for a new village attorney now. I happen to do a fair amount of municipal law in Rensselaer County, as well as the immediate capital district and downstate. I've been doing that for many, many years, and hope to be able to provide some service to the village as well. On general municipal matters, anything that comes up, and try to match John's capable service to the village. Any questions you have for me, I'll be here, and David did say earlier that I'm happy to stay as long as you need me this evening.
All right. Thank you.
See you, Andy.
So this is a big decision because we're it's obviously going to be a different expense because John did so much for so little for so long, but it's not realistic to expect that. And I reached out to Andy, and he'd offered us a little bit of a discount for the first 4 months. And we'd worked out some ways to make this work financially. It would, as I mentioned, tap into some of our contingency. In terms of the general fund of $20,000, I want to say it was just over $5,000.
Right.
And in terms of the sewer and water, it would be under $1,000 for both of those, and there's $10,000 in each of those. I'm not all that big into tapping into contingencies, especially this early in the year. But at the same time, we have this need, and when speaking with Mark, he was very excited about the prospect of Andy coming in and helping assist with a lot of the code enforcement, legal side of things, which I think you pointed out the list earlier. So at this point, I'm looking for a motion to sign an agreement with Attorney Andrew Gilchrist to represent the village as our municipal attorney.
Motion.
Ben?
Second.
Second. Brian. Any discussion? Any thoughts?
No, I said in my email I sent out to everybody earlier when we discussed it. I understand the additional cost for the village, but I think that Andy will earn his keep in by being able to prosecute in cases of the landlord issue and all the code enforcement with Mark has currently in court. I think it's money well spent. I understand it's an additional hardship for us as far as the money, but I think the revenue will speak to itself, and in the long run we'll find a way to make ends meet. I think it's a good choice.
I also don't think that we need to leave ourselves open for other things that could possibly happen without an attorney. With John retiring, we really need to have somebody that comes in and kind of catches up on the backside, so we don't end up having something happen and we drop the ball and we're left with nothing. So I would support that.
Okay.
And to echo what Bob said, I agree, and Ben as well. We have to be smart and careful with how we spend money, but we also have to be responsible with. We have to spend money to be responsible and take care of things that are important and keep us from being at risk. So excellent, and he has an excellent resume too.
Then I want to thank Denise for breaking that down for us too,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
explaining
Yeah,
that.
thank
So,
you, Denise.
because I know Bob had asked the question, how much of the money of the contingency was coming out into our funds, and
Which is a great question
Right.
to find out. We
and
need to know.
Denise breaking that down and showing us how much is coming out of each fund makes it a lot easier to swallow, I think, than for all. At least we know we're not using all of our contingencies. So.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments, thoughts, questions? All right. Should we do a roll call vote for this, or
I think so.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
For the sake of it, let's do a roll call vote for this, for signing the agreement with Attorney Andrew Gilchrist.
Trustee Bush?
I understand where we're coming from, we do need a lawyer, but expense-wise, I feel, you know how I feel about money and stuff, so. I'm gonna vote yes for Mike, because we do need a lawyer, and John was great for us, and John knows this guy real good, or somewhat, so. In my feelings, I will vote yes.
Trustee Sparks?
Yes.
Trustee Bushner?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Trustee Patton?
Yes.
Okay, carries. Thank you. Thank you, Andy, and Bob. Thank you for your comments, because it really made me think a lot. And
We need to get our money back, so if this
Yeah.
guy's gonna work for us, you better.
No pressure. No pressure.
Andy, you better roll your sleeves up right now.
Great.
Better go to start a coin drop.
You need a motion to accept John's resignation.
Yes. And now I'm looking for a motion to regretfully accept the resignation of John Patterson.
Second,
Of
regretfully.
Downing. Ben. Further discussion?
John, I just want to thank you for all the years that I've known you, that you've been nothing but respectful to all the members of the board, all the members of the community, and you've represented the village to the best of your ability, and you've done a wonderful job on our behalf, and I really appreciate what you've done, and I'm sorry to see you go, but I am happy to see you go. You go enjoy your grandchildren and your family, and enjoy the rest of your time.
Bobby, I appreciate it.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Really, thanks.
Is of note that his last day will be our next board meeting, so we get to
Yes.
Make sure you're here.
yeah.
Yeah, don't be calling in
Set up
sick or
pranks,
anything.
right? That's what we do. Set up
My
pranks.
wife might come too to see if I've just been running around down here.
You might have to have her come and give you a ride when we go out for having cocktails.
I like that idea.
Closed on Tuesday.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, John. Looking for a motion to go into exec. Oh, yes, please. Thank you. Looking for before we do this, students, if any of you haven't gotten your form signed, come see us before we go into executive session. And of course, we can have a few minutes to chat with Andy and chat with John before we go in. But looking for a motion to go into executive session to discuss current or pending litigation with no additional business after closing the executive session.
Motion.
Ben, second. Bob. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Executive session will begin shortly.